Okay, good afternoon. I hope you're there. I hope you're doing fine. I'm medyo kakaiba yung view natin ngayon. So I'm trying different camera angle so that I will be able to better take what's happening here. No? So it's slightly a little it's slightly angled, hindi siya yung nakatutok talaga na diretso para kasi I notice like when I do this natatakpan pala yung nire-render ko, so hindi masyado nakikita. So hopefully with this camera angle it's a little bit better. So if you're there and you can hear me, I would appreciate a little feedback. So kung naririnig nyo ako ng maayos, if you can just say hi, although kahit konti lang tayo na nanonood nyo, but you know, if you can hear me well, I would appreciate a little feedback lang, no? If you can hear me okay. Ayun. So yes, hello. So at least naririnig nyo ako. Okay, so well, good afternoon. Welcome to another live stream. If you're watching this after the live presentation, then good afternoon or good morning, whatever whatever time you're watching this. But for those of you who are here this afternoon, good afternoon. I really appreciate that someone is here and watching this as I'm doing I'm doing this thing. Tapos medyo I'm still fussing I guess with my hair. Yes, buti na lang malinaw siya. It's always, I was having some camera troubles a little bit earlier. So anyway, thanks for being here. It's a little bit windy where I am right now, and as usual it's kind of noisy because of the construction, so please bear with me with that. Anyway, so we'll do this today. I have to admit, like, what we are supposed to talk about or what we're supposed to demo this afternoon is really not my forte. Because I think this is one of the hardest things that people have to do, how to render like shiny objects and reflections. Like, I've been trying to do it for so many years, and I've watched a lot of tutorials, I've read a lot of books, and somehow it's not really like what I want it to be. But in any case, I will try to help you do it. Pero kung hindi siya successful sa render ngayon, sa live, pagpasensyahan nyo na. Tao lang din tayo. Anyway, I'll try my best and see like how things will go. So for today, I enclosed we're going to do this perspective, which you can download from our Big Sky account. I'll try to also see like how else to do it, but ito yung gagawin natin, And previously I mentioned that I wanted to show you like how to render a white interior, kasi notice that there are it's kind of very popular nowadays to have this like white interior, but how do you render it in such a way na you won't be told off by your teacher or your professor na ay parang hindi naman tapos yan, is it really white, parang tinamad lang ba yan, hindi na lang ni-render. So there is a technique on how to do it, so you have to admit that it will probably look a little bit easier or mas bibilis siya ng konti, but you have to be very deliberate about it. Ibig sabihin, dapat magmukha siyang sinadya, hindi yung parang tinamad ka. So essentially, how do you render a white interior na hindi mukhang tinamad? Okay? So we'll try to do that today, as a preview, no, this is what I did for the other class. So it's not entirely white, no? It's a lot of white. So that's one thing that you have to do, no? If you want to render something in a particular color, if you want it to look white, make sure that everything or a lot of it is white, no? Pero kung titignan nyo dito, you have your white walls, you have your white ceiling, and you have this white side chair, no? But it looks very deliberate, it looks very intentional. Okay? Pero syempre, we'll do other things, no, na ginawa na natin in the previous module, like we'll render this in a wicker color, wind from the fan. No, I'm sorry, no, the wind is actually not from the fan. It's wind, like real wind, as in totoong hangin. Wait, what can I do to do that? Kasi I already have this, meron na siyang yung dead cat. So that's supposed to reduce the wind noise, but maybe I can do this. Wait, let me adjust. Baka may magawa tayo para hindi masyadong maingay yung hangin. Ayun. So hopefully that's better. I kinda placed something there para hindi masyadong mahangin talaga dito ngayon eh. Ayun. So hopefully that's a little bit better. Kung hindi, just like tell me so I can see, you can still see like what, I'll try to find a way how to reduce the noise from the wind. Ayun. Yeah. So, going back to this one, no? So, we're going to render this white. We're going to have like this very showy plant here on one side. Now, there is going to be a module wherein we will be rendering, all we will be rendering are plants. They're very popular nowadays, so you probably will find that useful in the future. So, how are we going to render plants? It's actually na pag nakita ng kliyente nyo, alam niya kung anong klaseng mga halaman yung gusto nyong ipagamit or i-recommend nyo na gamitin niya in the future. Wait, it's really windy. Okay, let me try some. So maybe that would be a little bit better. So anyway, how do we render that one? And then like some tips on how to render like a proper proper thing. So anyway, this is what we're going to do. So we'll start with that, and then we'll go to the others as we move along. So, ayun. So, meron tayong mga kakarating lang. Hello. Good afternoon. I hope you're doing fine. So, kung kakarating na lang, good afternoon. Pasensyahan nyo na. Medyo maingay yung live stream ngayon. Okay, so as usual, we will be having, this is my process. I already told you, like, if you find this useful, then hey, good. That would be good. No? Kung hindi naman, of course, you can always find a way for you to modify it or find your process, no? What works for you. This is just a recommendation. But I really encourage you to find your own way of doing things, and then hopefully later on you will be able to develop your own style in rendering, wherein you will be recognized for that. Tapos, so ano nga ba yun? Ayun, no? So since we're going to do shiny objects, no, and reflections, one tip, no, about shiny objects and reflections, no? The shinier, the sharper the line, the shinier the object, no? So mas malakas yung mga linya, no, mas makintab yung isang bagay, no? So that is one reason why when we looking for a pen, for example, di ba I told you like one of the easier ways to render a shiny object, for example, this is a window, no, or a piece of glass, no, and it's vertical, no, nakalagay sa dingding. Tapos, so how do you render or how do you indicate that it's shiny? So we said na, oh, you can do diagonal lines, no? And then you color this part with a very light blue, and then you color that part also with a very light blue, no? So medyo sharp yung ating line, no? So this is appropriate for glass because glass is very shiny. Okay? Makintab kasi talaga yung salamin, no? At saka mga glass, no? Mga baso. Okay? So appropriate yung ganitong yung strong na lines, no? Pero kung halimbawa ang object na gusto nyong i-render ay hindi naman ganun kakintab, no? For example, ano nga ba yun? Tela, no? There are cloths that are very shiny, like no, not velvet, like silk, for example, or satin, no? For example, you want to render this is ito ay kurtina, no? This is curtain. So ilalim ko ng kurtina, no? And you want to render it na hindi masyadong it's shiny pero hindi siya yung super shiny katulad ng glass, no? So we can put like a shine mark, no? O ito yan yung part kung saan shiny. Tapos we start like putting in our shading. Pero yung shading mo, when you get here, you can make it like softer, no? You diffuse it para hindi masyadong makintab yung para hindi masyadong malakas, no, or sharp yung mga shine lines. So that's an indication that it's still shiny, pero hindi siya yung super, hindi siya kasing kintab ng mga harder objects, no, like glass, or even shining objects like stone, for example. So nadi-diffuse siya pag gano'n. So the same thing, like if you're going to render say a cylinder, maybe I'll get another pen. So halimbawa meron kang object na ganyan, you want to put like shine marks, yan, makintab. So itong mga parts na to kung saan super kintab siya, that will be your dark parts. Oops, ayan. Na. So you can render it that way. Super kintab. Makintab siya, yung itsura. And you don't have to diffuse it kasi super shiny. Just make sure that your lines are very crisp, no? Yung malakas din yung outline. This will make your objects like really look very shiny. And when you get to this part, you can also do the same thing. At least this will look pretty shiny when you render it properly. Tapos let's get like a white. Okay, kung gumagana siya, hindi pa medyo madulas, hindi masyado gumagana. Okay. That's how you would render like a really shiny object. Okay. Pero kung hindi naman siya ganon kakintab, okay, you still want to show na meron siyang shine, you can still do the same thing. There are your shine marks. There. Pero you diffuse it. So dito, the darkest part, the part na medyo nakatago, you can make it the darkest portion. But then when you get to your shine marks, it becomes lighter. This is quite easy to do if you're doing it in pencil. Kasi kung nagkamali ka, pwede mo siyang burahin. And you get that natural, soft lines. And then you diffuse it so it doesn't look it looks shiny, okay, but softer in shine. Shiny. It's convincingly shiny. So yan yung pwede natin gawin. So that applies also to, for example, if you're going to do say a tabletop and it's very shiny, you do the same thing. You can have like a very shiny part there with sharp edge. Put another one here. So this is just a very quick rendition of like how to do it in a shiny surface na, say like a tabletop na horizontal. And then if it's if it's in a diagonal, vertical na surface, then you can do the same thing. So dark. You can do this with watercolor, you can do this with pens, you can do this with markers. You just use the appropriate color to create the shading. So let's say na ito ay hindi ganun kakintab. So let's soften the edges and then make the parts far from it like really dark. So at least, diba, it kind of looks like you're getting that illusion that it's shiny. Kasi lahat naman yan illusion lang eh. Diba? You're just trying to fool or trick the eye of your viewer into thinking na, oh, something is shiny, no? That looks like it's made out of wicker, no? Mukha siyang basket. And lahat naman yun hindi totoo. So, dine-develop lang natin yung technique on how to render it convincingly. Okay? So, these are some tricks that you can do. No? Now, if you want to practice that in an interesting way, so far okay naman, no? If you have any questions about these things, no, just like you can put it in the chat box so I can give you a response right away. No? If you want to practice that in an interesting manner, you can do this. For example, yan. Mga, like, oh, how do you make like a water droplet look shiny? So, this ones, I did this in watercolor a couple of nights ago. So when you do something like this, to, to make something look shiny, a lot of it has something to do with yung contrast, no, between light and shadow. So contrast ng light and shadow. So dapat meron kang dark na parts, meron ka ring very light na parts, and then everything else is diffused. So katulad nito dito, you have this very dark side here, and then a very dark side on the opposite. Dark, 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 and then dark, and then everything else is diffused, no? Tapos you have this light part here for where the shine is. You can do that also with other colors. For example, like, oh, you want to draw, or you're painting this leaf, halimbawa, dahon, no? Tapos meron mga butil ng tubig kung saan nag-shine. So you can do that also with this green color, and then this, if you want to do it in blue, for example, it's water, water drop, let's say, on a piece of glass. You can also do this. So it's pretty, I think it's pretty simple, like how I do it. Okay, so you have, you can create a circle, and then an oval pala, and then I plot out where the shine is, kung saan nakapatong yung kintab, and then I start rendering it. I put the dark parts where the dark parts should be, and then as I go down, it becomes more diffused. So it's going to be the dark part, and then I'm going to blend it out. You can do this with watercolor. Actually, it's mabilis to pag watercolor, so mas mabilis gumawa ng shading doon. You can do this with pencil, and then diffuse that there, and then pagdating dito, I diffuse that also. So parang ito yung shadow, no, ng kasi nandito yung ilaw natin, tapos itong butil ng tubig na to nagka-cast ng shadow. So you make this dark. Add some more shading, and then this part here will be like the dark part, and then it also gets diffused, magiging lighter. So now you can, if you want, you can shade some the areas around it. Is what I did with the watercolors, and then you kind of get this medyo convincing, kahit paano, medyo convincing naman na butil ng tubig na parang nakapatong siya sa sa papel mo. You can practice this to get that, it kinda helps, it can help you with your shading, and your creating an optical illusion. Optical illusion lang naman siya. Sometimes I like putting in, kasi using this white gel pen, it's not very effective with pencil kasi medyo madulas yung lead, pero medyo gumagana naman. So you can do that as a practice. So you can do that with many different colors, and you just like play around with what you have. Okay, so okay ba tayo dyan? So I hope okay lang kayo dyan. Hope dyan pa kayo. Okay? So let's just take a look at some objects, no? Para lang maintindihan natin like how how do things work, no? For example, if you want to do a reflection, no, of an object, you can do this, no? So kung napapansin nyo, kung ano yung korte ng object, yun yung ganun din yung korte ng shine. So for example, you've seen this in mga cartoons. Wait, let me get a bigger pen. You see this being done in cartoons, parang ganito, like halimbawa merong bula, no, may bula na ganon, okay? Tapos to indicate the shine, sometimes, most of the time you see this, to say na parang, oh, merong ano doon, maybe it's not the best one, maybe something like this. Parang ganyan, no? To indicate that there is a shine, no? So ano to, no? That's a reflection of something, no? So malamang ito ay reflection to ng ano, ng bintana na nakalagay dyan, but it's only on one side, no? And kung napapansin nyo, sinusunod niya yung korte ng object, no? So just like how we follow the shape of the objects here, no? Yung strokes ng pencil nyo or yung markers niyo dapat sumusunod siya sa korte ng object. Kaya kung halimbawa, no, if we go back to this one, no, we have a vase that is a little bit oddly shaped, no, medyo kakaiba yung korte. So if we're going to do like a simple shading for that one, we can do this instead, no? So halimbawa, ito yung korte ng vase mo. So what we can do is, once na outline na natin siya, we can do the shadows in the shape, or shine in the shape of the object. So katulad ng korte ng bagay. So kung pabilog siya, yung shine mo pwedeng, karaniwan nakikita nyo pabilog na ganon. So pwede rin yan, pero dapat sumusunod siya sa korte. Ano pa ba? For example, a lot of vases are shaped like this. So a lot of vases also are pretty shiny. So paano tayo gagawa ng shine dyan? Sinusundan natin yung korte ng object. So nagmumukha siyang ito yung tinta, no, na reflection ng ilaw o ng mga objects na nasa tabi mo. So we always have to take that into consideration, or put that in our minds pag gumagawa tayo ng reflection, ng shine, no? Tapos kung magre-reflect tayo, essentially, kung mababa, kung ano yung korte, yun din yung reflection. So katulad nito, we can render that, no? So halimbawa, ito nakalagay nakapatong siya sa isang lalagyan, no, or mesa. So ito, pwedeng malakas siya dito, tapos nagdi-diffuse siya pagdating doon kasi mas malayo na. So the same thing here, you can make this like really dark, and then it diffuses when we go up. I need to erase that part. Nag-diffuse pag akyat. The same thing with this one. So since nandito yung ano, we can probably do a cast na shadow or reflection napunta doon. Wait, ito ay reflection to, Hindi to katulad ng cast shadows, no? Kasi yung shadow pwedeng papunta doon. Ay, wait. In this case, since nandito yung kintab, dapat yung shadow papunta doon. No? Kasi nandito yung kintab. No? Nandito yung kintab. Okay. Tapos, dapat yung cast shadow papunta doon. So, ito nagiging very dark. Ito nagiging very dark yan. Pero yung reflection niya, no? Reflection, nandito. Papunta sa baba. So, the same thing here. No? Kung ito yung pwedeng yung cast shadow niya nandun. And you can make that very, very dark. Pero yung reflection niya nandito. Okay? So, hopefully that's not very confusing for everyone. No? Kasi I know, like, that's one of the hardest things. How do you play with light? It's always a struggle. How do you make like convincing shadows? Doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, it has to be at least convincing. No? Pag nakita ng tao, alam nila kung ano yan. So, ano mo sila, na nako-convince mo na tama yung ginagawa mo. Okay? So now we'll render this one, no? So meron tayong mga ganun, it's the same thing, no? Tapos ano pa ba? Ayun din, ito, no? What do you do if you render something like this, no? Kung sino po napapansin nyo, very dark yung gilid, tapos light lang yung sa, no? So for example, if you want to, many of you I think submitted something like this, no? It's a clear vase, tapos you want to render it na merong nakalagay na gamit doon, no? So for example, ito yung vase nyo, no? Tapos meron kayong mga sticks or mga flowers, no? Nakalagay sa loob. Okay? So usually dito yan sa ilalim, very dark yan, no? Tapos yung outline nyo, you can make that dark. Okay. Tapos determine where your light source is. So kung halimbawa nandito yung shine, you can leave that as a very light object, a sharp line pala. Tapos dito sa gilid, you can start off by rendering it darker, and then the more you go to the center, it becomes lighter. Dito sa baba, dark, tapos nagiging light. Tapos pagdating na naman dito sa kabila, pwede siyang maging dark ulit. Pero again, pagdating sa gitna, nagiging lighter siya. Tapos ito dito, you can make that dark. And then you have that line kung saan let me erase. I think that's too harsh. You can make that like really dark, and then darker, and then you can do, so sa gilid dark, susundan pa rin natin yung korte ng object, and then pagdating sa gilid kung saan may shine, you have that very strong line, and then it becomes lighter, okay, as you go in the middle. So nagiging diffused siya. Tapos you can render yung mga sticks ninyo dyan sa loob. For example, you have mga stalks, no, ng bulaklak or ng mga plants, and then you render it in your usual way. So you can do something similar to this. Oops, when you render something translucent, or transparent. So having said that, let's continue with this one. So we'll do this with the white parts, no? Tapos oops, not that one. We'll start with the white parts, no? And then we'll work on the others, no? So what are you going to use, no, to render? Like what I said here, no? First thing that you have to do, if you're going to render a white interior, no, and you decide to ink it, gusto nyo siyang lagyan ng ink, no? First thing that you have to make sure is malinis yung pagka-ink ninyo, no? Sadya, mukha siyang sinadya. Try to make it as clean as possible, you know? Don't make it sketchy, kasi pag sketchy yan, dumadagdag yan doon sa ano ninyo, doon sa illusion na parang hindi siya tapos. So make sure that everything is clean and crisp and very deliberate, and the lines are well connected to each other, katulad nung nakalagay dito, no? So for this one, you can download this one, and then you can print it on paper, or you can trace it before you start your render. So make sure that you do that, and then when you're rendering this one, please make sure that you take your progress photos, no? So you and then you submit it together with your plate. Okay, so let's put in the shadows first. Ano yung pwede nyong gamitin na shadows for shadows dito, no? So marami tayong choices. If you have the grays, syempre pwede nyong gamitin yon, no? Like ano na to? I have here like C1 and C5. So if you have these colors, you can always use these for your shadows. If you have like a warm, like a W1, W5, pwede rin yun, no? I have here W3, masyado nakikita. So anyway, I have a W3, pwede rin gamitin yan. Tapos kung wala kayo nun, you want to be a little bit adventurous, you can always use other colors, like for example the blues, no, like a B60, so it's a very light blue. BV31, pwede rin yan. So kung napapansin nyo, halos pareho lang yung kulay, no? Very slight yung difference. You can use that also. It leans towards the gray. If you really want to be adventurous, and I think that's what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use violets. Kasi parati ko sinasabi na huwag kayong gumamit ng gray pag huwag kayong gumamit ng gray pag gusto nyo gumawa ng shadows, kasi namamatay yung kulay. Yeah, apparently I just read recently na yung paggamit pala ng blue at saka ng violet for shading and shadows, apparently that's a French technique. Yung paggamit ng gray, that's more of an Italian daw na technique. So ayun, personal preference lang, no? If you want to use grays for your shadows, it's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to be adventurous a little, you want to use the blues or the violets, then go ahead. Syempre magbabago yung itsura ng render ninyo, no? But if you want to try something out, just like give it a shot, no? Wala namang mawawala pag sinubukan nyo. So I'll start with this one, no? But again, you are free to use any color that you want for your shadows, no? It's just that for this plate, I want to experiment with this one, and hopefully it works out, no? Kasi nakakahiya naman, nagkamali ako tapos pangit. Anyway, I'll try this one, no? So I'll plan out everything. So this one will be white, and then I'll leave this the seat as white. Maybe we'll do some patterns here. Syempre the plant will be green, this one will be terracotta, and then everything else for the wicker chest and the floor, we'll try to make it like this colored wood, just like my table. And then we'll put in some accent colors here, and maybe even the throw pillows will do accent colors. Okay, so first, to put in your shadows, first thing that you have to determine is where is your light source? Saan nanggagaling yung ilaw ninyo? Very, very important. Okay? Para iisa lang. Sinabi ko na sa inyo dati, pag halimbawa kumuha kayo ng picture for a reference photo, it's best if you choose only or you try to create that illusion, there's only one light source, no? Para hindi kayo maguluhan. Kasi kung diffused yung light, no, ibig sabihin kung saan-saan galing yung ilaw ninyo, ang hirap mag-create ng magandang illusion ng light and shadows and cast shadows. No? So, pretend that there is only one light source. No? And for example, in this plate, no, kung nakikita nyo, merong mga light na shadows dito, no? And then dito din, dito, tapos yung ilaw, yung shadow dito, may shadow dito, may shadow dito. So, ang ibig sabihin, yung light source natin nandito sa may kaliwa. So, it's on the left side. Tapos, medyo maliit lang siya. No? And if you look at the the vase, no, and that pot, the shine is on the left side. No? So, that's also an indication that the light source is on the left side. No? So, we'll do that here. We'll do the same thing. No? Let's pretend that the light source is on the left side, and then I'm going to put in my shadows. So, start putting in. Do I have enough? I think I do. Okay, so I'll start putting in these for my lightest shadow. I'll start dito sa taas. So I'll put in. That looks dark. And then I'll put in that. So this is a V20. It's a little bit on the dark side, I think. Anyway, nasimulan ko na, so paninindigan ko na. Okay. So yan yung so yan yung mga shadows. Try to diffuse that later on. Tignan natin kung ano ang mangyayari dito. Medyo natatakot na ako kasi feeling ko ang dark. Ay, nako. Anyway, ayan na. Okay, so it's trying to render that one convincingly. Diyos ko, sana hindi ako mapahiya dito. Okay. Tapos, meron ba akong iba pang mas light dito? Let me check my swatch. Maybe I can use another color just for lightening. B60. So maybe I'll use this as the lightest. So it's also on the violet side. Just slight, parang hindi masyadong dark, I think. Okay, just to create that illusion. Okay, tapos here I'm going to, so lahat ng mga nasa left side, it's going to be the part where we will have a lot of the shadows. Okay, I'll switch to the broad tip. So parang gumuguhit lang ako ng letter L. Dito din sa ilalim. As much as possible, try to align it kung ano yung nilagay ko dun sa taas. So kung gaano kataba yung shadow na nilagay ko dun sa taas, yun din yung gagawin ko dito sa baba. Tapos ito, I'll put a lot of darks here kasi and natatakpan na siya. So, ito yung dark parts. I think I'll even have to have another layer of dark there. Tapos dito din. So, ito yung mga nakatago na parts. So, nakalagay yan. Ito, dito. Kung saan nakatago yung libro. At saka ito. Itong part dito. At saka ito. Tapos, syempre yung likod ng punang halaman. Kakaroon ng shadows yan. Ito. So, essentially, I'm plotting out where my shadows are. Ito. Shadow dyan. Tsaka dito. Tsaka dito. Ito din. Shadows dyan. Sa ilalim ng furniture, may shadow. Tapos ito. Okay. So, tapos ito. Ayan. Okay. So, yan yung ating shadows. So, para lang mahabol natin kung ano yung nakalagay dito sa taas, I will use this one, V20 again, to put the darker colors in. So, I'll just put like a touch there. So when you're rendering a white interior, no, you have to make sure that it still looks white. So wag nyong tadtarin ng maraming kulay. So once you put in a lot of different colors, or make sure that you still have a lot of white. No? If you like do a computation of the surface, dapat mas marami pa rin yung puti. Para magmukha siyang totoong white interior. Because once you start putting in, there's more color than white, then wala na. Basag na yung yung illusion na white interior siya. Except for the shadows, you can get away with putting in some color for the shadow kasi, well, shadow siya. So put in darker colors where the shadows are supposed to be. Put in dark parts. So obviously this one will be like smaller, not as big as the lighter color. So, ayun. Some there, some there, some there. Tsaka to. Tsaka yun. Some here. You try to, as much as possible, to keep it within the lines, para malinis siya. Resist the temptation to cover everything with color, kasi naman hindi siya coloring book. It's very amateurish ang itsura na yon. So try to avoid it as much as possible. Okay, so yun, no? Now let's do another big surface. Let's do the floor. Okay. Now, since we're going to do something similar to this one, I'm going to use like just very light colors. I'm going to use these three colors, no? So if you have them, okay siya, but if not, you can always use other colors, no? Something similar to these three colors. These are all earth tones, so E51, E11, and then an E31. Let me just test that out first. Actually, hindi ako masyado sure Ito ba yung ginamit ko ng isang araw? It's just going to be a light color. Yeah. So, okay ito. I want this to be a little bit lighter. So, let's start with the lightest color, E51. I'm going to use the broad tip to render the floor. Tapos when I'm putting in, kasi it's a wooden floor, no? Gawa siya sa ano to? Sa kahoy, no? So usually you can get away with not putting in the wood grains as long as like maganda yung brush strokes mo, no? Or yung pen strokes mo. So kung ganito yung tabas ng naka-diagonal siya, susundan mo lang yung direksyon ng sahig para makakuha ka ng mga natural looking wood grains using your brush strokes. So I'm doing this, I'm just following the shape of the floor. So you can get away with it being teka, naubusan na ata ako ng you get away with it being streaky, no? Teka lang, I think I need something. Sandali lang. Okay, I think I used a lot of it recently, so I have to refill it. Sandali lang. Okay, so ganito, you can refill your markers na ganito. We have na refillable ink. It's very, if you're using a lot of a certain color, no, ito talaga sulit na sulit talaga to. And that's why I like this kind of marker, no? Kasi it's refillable and you can get refillable inks for it here in the Philippines. So that's how easy it is to refill Copic marker. So balik tayo sa rendering. Yun, sumusunod lang tayo doon sa brush strokes. Sorry, sa direction ng sahig. Kung lumalampas-lampas siya, okay lang naman, wag lang masyadong yung super lampas talaga. Kasi pwede natin i-repair yan later on. I'll show you how to clean up some mga smudges. Basta hindi lang yung sobrang laki. So, pwede natin ayusin yan. So that's the first color, E51. Then I'll go in with an E11. Doing the same strokes. Actually maganda to if you can let the paper dry a little, no? Kasi kung napapansin nyo, pag basa pa yung papel and then you put another layer of ink on it, nagdi-diffuse yung kulay, so you get a nice blending or shading. But if you want like brush marks or pen marks, yung nagmamarka yung mga strokes ninyo, mas maganda kung patuyuin nyo muna ng konti yung papel. So that's what I'm trying to do here. I think it's a little bit warm today, so do the same thing, no? Just like pass through some, that I'm not going to make it like real full, no? Because I want like an even colored wood. So we just do that. So medyo uneven siya. Now it's starting to look like a little bit like wood. And then just like the third layer, I'm going to use like an E31 and just to add some more brush strokes and parang wood grain effect. And then I'm going to put it mostly dito sa may likod, no, where the shadows are. So just do like wisps with it. To create that illusion that there is some sort of like wood grain effect. Natutuyuan na rin ako nito, ah. So it's a little bit on the street. Okay, I'm really running out of this color. Not sure if I even have a refill for this one. Let me check if I have a refill. So wala talaga akong refill na to. So let's abandon that color and then go back to the lightest color, yung E11, and then I'll just try to smooth out some of the rough lines. So dark na siya. We can always use so kung napapansin nyo, no, yung unang paglagay ko ng yung violet, sabi ko parang masyado siyang dark. Pero kung nilalagyan nyo na yung buong yung ibang mga kulay, naglalighten na siya, no? Kasi nag-i-increase na yung contrast. Yung kanina kasi puti lang yung pang-contrast natin. So dahil malayo siya sa puti, akala natin wow, ang dark na, no? Pero if you start putting in other darker colors, then you'll notice na parang okay, hindi naman pala siya ganoon ka-dark, no? So, paano nyo nalalaman kung dark na ba siya o hindi? A lot of it really is like practice and experience. The more you render, the more you use your medium, yung materials ninyo, mas nagiging bihasa kayo sa paggamit niya. Tapos mas na-predict nyo kung ano yung pwedeng mangyari sa kanya, kasi sanay na kayo sa paggamit sa kanya. Now I'm putting in E33, just trying to put in drawing in some wood grains. And then I'll smoothen it out again with the E51. lot of ink. So we can, more or less, that's our floor, no? I'm still thinking, pinag-iisipan ko pa kung maglalagay pa ba ako ng shading dito sa ilalim, pero gagawin ko yun mamaya, no? Para mas feeling ko kasi mas ma-judge ko kung kailangan ko pa magdagdag ng shading sa mga shading na nilagay natin kanina, kasi parang nawawala na siya ngayon, no? So i-judge ko siya mamaya pag nalagyan natin ng iba pang kulay yung mga objects, no? So we'll do the same thing with kung ano yung ginawa natin dito. Gawin din natin siya dito sa wicker basket dito sa likod. So ganun din, no? We'll put our base color, bilis lang. And then we'll start putting in the detailing. So hindi yan. We'll do this one. Another color, maybe this one. So we'll do this one. So yung practice natin from last week, no? Just do yung ganon, horizontal, diagonal na lines to create a structure for the basket. So we'll start with the structure. And then we'll put in the weave marks. And so for the weave marks, I'm using a darker pen, and then I'll rotate it para mas makita. Yun natin. Let's start kung saan pinaka-dark, no? Kung saan may shadows. Nilagay ako ng weave marks doon. So it's just very simple na rendering, no? Bilisan lang. So since meron na siyang ano kanina, meron na siyang yung pen marks, so naka-render na siya ng konti sa pen, you don't have to do a lot with the chest itself. Now, I think masyado siyang light, so I think I will add a darker color to it, kasi parang sobrang light ng color. So I'll add a darker color to it. Kung medyo nawawala na yung weave marks, kasi parang nawawala yung weave marks, so I'll try to render it. So, hindi ako natutuwa, and I think I will have to add a darker color to it para lang lumitaw siya, kasi para siyang nawawala. So kung napapansin nyo, no, parang kaya ano nangyari doon, kasi akala ko ba light lang siya. Well, you have to make judgments, no? Habang nangyayari siya, parang okay, gumagana ba siya? Kung hindi, then kailangan marunong pa rin mag-adjust, no? So admittedly medyo mahirap yon, lalo na kung hindi kayo sanay sa kung ano yung ginagawa ninyo, pero hopefully, no, while you're practicing all of these things, you get a better hang of it, no? Mas nagiging gamay kayo sa paggamit nyo ng materials, mas nasasanay kayo, then you can better judge, no, if you need to adjust certain things, no? Kasi ito, feeling ko talaga kailangan niyang, para sa akin, kailangan ko siyang i-adjust kasi parang naglalako siya. So I will adjust it a little bit, adding in some darker colors, and then I'll just add Just make it a little bit darker. Tapos, minsan pwede kayong magdagdag ng ng puti. Actually, subukan natin. So ako rin, parang feeling ko okay siya pag nilagyan ng puti. As, although parang hindi rin nakikita, so, oh well, it was worth a shot. We'll add some color here for this, yung kanyang trangkahan. Tapos naglalagay tayo ng puti. Para dun sa part na kung saan siya may nakakapit. Okay, so that's one. Okay. Tapos let's just do a quick render for these for the books. Let's just do a very quick render for that one. I'm trying to look for my pen. Just parang kulang siya. Let's put in some pages. And then we'll pick like a nice maroon color for this one. And then we'll add in some shading. So we'll use the gray. Oh wait, nasa na yun? Yung violet ulit for the shading for this one. Adding in some more shading for that one, just para lang ma-emphasize. So that kind of works, I think. So anyway, we'll go through that later. So now we'll render this one. Let's start with the plants. So marami kayong kulay na pwedeng gamitin dyan. It's really up to you. But I like using mga greens and yellow greens. So kayo na bahala. Maraming choices. But for this one, I will use these. It's YG41, tatlong kulay ulit. G14 and tsaka G07. So, okay, let's start with the lightest one. Let's put in some color there. Actually, ano bang kulay nito? Okay. So, let's start with this one. And then, what I like to do is, I like to leave some parts white. Lalo na yung midrib, no? Yung gitna, no? Yung kung saan merong, yung gitna ng dahon. I like leaving that, I like leaving a light color for that. So, ngayon, pipinturahan ko siya lahat ng green. This is just one way. Maraming kasing iba't ibang paraan para mag-render ng dahon. This is just one way. So, I will paint everything in this base green color. Tapos, we'll work with the other colors later on. So, base green color, tapos yun na yung gagamitin ko na color for the mid-rib. Mas yung iba, iiwasan ko na lang. Okay, so let's start with that color. Okay, it's kind of pleasant. Okay, now let's move to this one. Yung parang yellow-green na color, and then we'll just do it where the shadows or the darker parts will be. So let's start here sa stalks. So, kasi isipin natin ko parang ano bang halaman yan? Ako rin hindi ko rin alam, diba? Pero parang para sa akin mukha siyang dahon ng saging. So let's try to render it na parang gano'n. So leave that there. And then here, I'll just put it here. Tsaka doon. Hindi siya binubuo. Dito, yung buo. Pero dito, ito lang. Then I'll leave that part lighter. And then here, I'll leave the edge like a little bit lighter. So same thing here. Then dun lang siya. And then on the other side, I'll render it this way. Just rotate this. I guess nakikita nyo pa naman siya. So ganito kasi talaga ako mag-render. Parati kong iniikot-ikot yung papel. So, pwede nyo kasing isipin na pag nagre-render kayo ng dahon, usually hindi naman pantay yung kulay, no? Nag-iiba-iba siya kasi depende kung paano yung korte ng dahon at saka ano yung lighting conditions. Nagbabago-bago yung kulay ng isang dahon, no? Sa paningin natin. Kaya, you can create that illusion here. No? Hindi nyo kailangan pinturahan ng isang uniform color lang siya. Kasi pag ganun, it kinda looks flat, no? Mukha siyang patay. So, iniiwasan natin yun, no? Yun yung mga render. Pag ganun, minsan mukha siyang parang pang elementary. Eh, hindi naman tayo nasa elementary, eh. So, we try to, as much as possible, we try to level up our rendering game and make it look more professional. So, ito na yung sinasabi ko kanina na iniiwasan ko yung gitna, no? Kasi it also helps in creating the shape of your leaf. Pag nakikita mo yung mid-rib, nakakatulong siya para i-establish ano ba talaga hugis niyan. Kung alimbawa later on napansin niyo parang oh no, nabura ko siya or nalagyan ko siya ng color, you can always remedyo it. Oh my god. Pwede niyo siyang remedyohan ng konti by using a white gel pen, no? Pero sa total, the effect is not the same. Okay? Obvious talaga na pinasadahan siya ng gel pen. So pag ganito, konti lang naman yung dahon, tapos malalaki yung dahon, you can do this. I think it looks extra nice. Okay. Mas nagbumukhang parang totoo yung dahon. Ano naman, daming tao nagre-render ng mga halaman ngayon. A lot of them are not good. Yeah, it's like a little bit of shade. So just like this. dito, now I will just put in one more color, no? Kasi I have in my eyes, sa mata ko, kailangan pa niya ng isa pang darker na color. So I'm using YG67, so it's a very dark yellow green. I'll just put it in the shadows. Dito lang sa mga ilalim ng dahon, yung mga overlaps, no, kung saan sila nagpapatong sa isa't isa. Just so I can give hopefully a better illusion of shade and shadows. So kung wala kayong ganito, no, remember that we can always use a pencil to get a darker shade of the color that you don't have, no? So hindi nyo kailangan magkaroon ng maraming kulay. Sa totoo lang, like all of my markers I bought in like the span of 3 years, no? So 3 taon ko rin siyang pinag-ipunan at binili para magkaroon ako ng 72 na colors. Eh kayo hindi nyo pa naman sigurado kung gusto nyo talaga gumamit ng markers, diba? Sinusubukan nyo pa lang siya. So masyadong risky na gumastos na malaki. So you can always use a pencil to do this one. Pero ako, since nandyan na yung markers ko, parang sige gamitin na natin kasi sayang pag hindi nagamit. So that's the plant. Tabi na natin yung mga green. Now we'll render this one, the flower pot, with this parang diamond na pattern. So I want it to be a terracotta color. So that's like a reddish brown na color. So I'm going to use these definitely, and then maybe this one. So mga red pero parang medyo red brown. Maybe I don't know, maybe that one. So anyway, let's start. I'll put in that there. Nag-iiwas ako ganon. And then I'll use this. It's an E4. Hira ko to gamitin. Pero since na medyo red siya, na earth tone, I'm gonna use it here just to establish some color, red color for the pot. Tapos I'll use the lighter color again to blend it out. Kasi terracotta is inherently not shiny, hindi naman siya makintab. So sabi natin kanina, kung hindi makintab ang isang object, kahit na may shine siya, hindi siya yung super sharp na line. So you have to blend out the color. So use this one. I'm going to blend it out a little bit later. Pagkatapos nito, just stop around there and put a little bit there, and then I'll blend it out again. Tapos we'll use the darkest color for the terracotta. And then we'll blend it out again. think it needs this color. Now, to bring out those white na mga yung pattern, again, that's where we will use our white gel pen to bring out the white pattern that we are supposed to have for this vase. So I'm just outlining it where we placed the pattern earlier. Of course, you can do this with gouache. Kung wala kayong gel pen, pwede yung puting gouache. Or kung desperado na talaga, wala kayong pareho nun, you can always use a watercolor. And just be very careful. So now we have that like pattern there, no? And then para lang I want to put like a white outline para lang ma-distinguish na okay, ganyan yung korte ng ating tsaka dito, maybe dito sa ilalim. So sa outlines, remember, like outlines don't have to be white, don't have to be black. Outlines can also be white para magkaroon ng korte yung mga ginagawa ninyo, lalo na pag masyado ng dark yung mga colors na ginamit. You can always use white to emphasize certain things. So let's so malapit na tayo matapos, okay, so now I think we'll have to because of how things are going, I think yung natin, it's a little too hindi na ganun ka-dark yung shadows natin. So I'm adding in another layer of this our shadow color, just to emphasize some of the dark parts. Now, etong if I think kailangan to. So we're using the colors as contour. So, ginagamit natin yung kulay para bigyan ng hugis ang mga puting objects. So for this one, I will use this just to give it a little contour marks para magmukha siyang medyo bilog. Contour marks. Iwanan natin yan. Now, let's go to the pillow. Now, before we do that, I just want to do this very, very quick na tip. Nasa na? Okay, wait, hindi yan. So, how do you convincingly do a pillow? So, for example, meron kang unan na ganyan. So, na syempre, if you want to put a pattern, so, you curve it a little. So, kung halimbawa, dito mo siya tinitingnan, you're looking at it from the, you're looking at it from the left side. So yung lines mo napupunta doon. So kung nakikita nyo, no, nagka-curve siya dito sa taas, tapos curve, tapos nagka-curve ulit doon sa loob. Curve na konti. So actually, yung line kinda goes like this. Para magmukhang bilog ang object. Tapos, dito rin sa baba, if you want to do it like checkered pattern, you can do the same thing here. So, dito, pag ganun naman. So, you get that illusion that it is rounded. No? Kasi, kung halimbawa, mag-render kayo ng unan, tapos gagawin nyo lang diretso yung mga lines, no? Madaling i-drawing, di ba? Pero hindi mukhang bilog yung yung unan ninyo, mukha siyang net, no? So hindi siya ganun ka convincing. So, diba, kung mag-render kayo ng the same thing. Round your lines to make the object look rounded. Okay. So, nasa linya lang siya. So, we'll do that here. Okay. Now, I don't want it to be like super matingkad talaga na kulay. So, we'll just pick like a nice pink color. Maybe a salmon pink or so maybe this one. So, you can use any color that you want. Pero ito lang siguro yung gagamitin ko ngayon. Ang kulay ko. So, yeah, that's fine. So, I'll do like the same thing dun sa sample. I'll do stripe, a checkered, simple, tawag doon, basket weave pattern, like a gingham. So, curve, and then goes inside. Curve, goes inside. So, it's always convenient to start at the center, right? Para even ma-distribute na siya evenly. And then the same thing here, we'll start from the middle. And then just to give it a little oomph. Just put like little dots at the intersections of the lines. And so now you have like a fairly okay gingham pattern. And then for this one, we'll do katulad nung simple like a floral pattern. So the same thing, if we're going to do a floral, try to position it na naka-curve yung mga lines. So what I do is like, I usually just draw like lines na ganito, to plot out kung saan ko ilalagay yung mga patterns, para hindi siya bara-bara lang. And then you can create like a pattern of your own using a certain color. So simple lang. Nothing complicated. Okay. Tapos let's render this one. Let's use these two colors. I'll do the light part first, and then I'll just draw in the shine later on. So sabi natin kanina, if you're going to do this, you can make the sides very dark. Okay? Mas darker yung sides, and then you become lighter as you move to the center. So that's what I'm trying to do here. Just picking this color just for emphasis, or hindi emphasis, just for contrast, so you can just pop of different color sa gilid na maliit. And then this one also, I will do the same thing, no? Kung ano yung ginawa natin kanina with the plants. Start with a light color, simple lang, and then put in a medium kasi maliit lang naman siya. Put in a medium color, and then for the final stroke we'll do a darker color dito lang sa may gilid, sa ilalim lang mo. Simple and quick. You don't have to be very fussy about it. And then we'll do the same thing with this one, no? Yung kanyang pot. Use a simple color. Lang, tapos na tayo. And then this one over here, and for the one here, I want to render it in a parang metallic na color. So I'm using a yellow. And then I'm going to use a gray. So na yun. Orange. Tapos, for this one, I'm going to, for the, yung ano pala, kalimutan natin, yung maliit na dahon dito, halaman, stalk. So, again, just very quick. Nag-rendering ng halaman. And since maliit lang siya, you don't have to fuss around with it so much. Just lagay lang ng lagay ng kulay. And then just create some sort of dimension, no? Basta hindi lang flat. So you have a lot of colors and make them shine through. Then you get this illusion. Yeah. Tapos we'll do this, the legs. I'm looking for, going to use dark blue. Paint in the legs like this. So nagmumukha siyang parang black. Pero we'll try to make it look shiny. So in order to do that, we get the white pen, and then we'll add like a white streak. So nagmumukha siyang parang makintab siya. And then we'll put in the reflection. Reflect. So may reflection siya doon sa pader, sa sahig. And then we'll add the shine mark here. Pinatuyo ko muna siya para mas maganda yung kapit ng white na gel pen. White. Para magmukha siya like shiny. Tapos ano pa, yung paa pala nakalimutan natin. So let's use the light color. Medium. And then the dark. Just on one side. Tapos we'll try to create the illusion of the shine by using a darker color and then just like it's a darker color and it's a nice way to shade that one. Give this illusion that there is it's reflected something here. So may illusion siya, parang nagre-reflect yung mga objects sa sahig. And for this one, maybe we can even yung ano nga ba to? Ay, mali. Oops. Simple lang, madalian lang. Okay, ano pa? Yung baboy, hindi ko na, let's just color it pink. And add some sort of shading to it. I think this one still needs some shading, so I'll get yung darker color, no, ng shade natin. I'll add some shading dito kasi dito parang okay na siya, pero dito parang wala. So let's just add some shading there. So diffuse lang po, ano, it's not a very concise like shading, so it's more of a diffused shadow. Let's add some shading na gano'n. Let's add some here. think we are done. So you can still add some improvements here. I think you can work a little bit on the floor. I think I want to emphasize some of the wood graining, so I'm going to make the lines a little bit thicker. Kakapalan. Oh, okay, medyo parang nasira ata yun. So You can get a ruler for this one, syempre. Kaso lang, wala yung ruler ko ngayon sa akin. So I'm just going to freehand this. And if you have a ruler, I really suggest that you use a ruler for this one. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm cleaning up. Parang I'm just trying to make things neater, pero dahil hindi ako gumamit ng ruler, parang mas nagiging madumi. So don't do this. Use a ruler. Nakakahiya. I'm going to add a white outline for this one. I think it needs a white outline. And yeah, that's it. That's it, pansit. Ano pa ba? Kung saan ano po, ito yung kintab ng pero kaya hindi nyo nalagyan yun, okay lang. Okay, yeah, I think that's it. So these are completed render for a white interior with some white accessories and like natural looking materials. So you can start doing this. It's already all on Big Sky. If you have any questions, you can always just like send me a message over in our Discord channel, or you can send me an email. I'll try as much as possible to reply as soon as I can. Pero yeah, that's it. That is our render for a white interior with some reflective and shiny objects. So I hope you learned something, and I hope I got you excited in trying some of the techniques that are mentioned here. They're very interesting to do. You might not get it on the first try kasi medyo mahirap. I think medyo challenging siya. Medyo hindi mo talaga mahirap siguro, but it's quite a challenging technique to master. So you'll have to practice it a couple of times before, or most likely you'll probably have to practice it a couple of times before you will be able to get it to master the technique completely. Tapos, yeah, kung merong mga maliliit na mga parts na parang sumusobra-sobra, like this one, diba, it's supposed to be a white chase lang, a lounge chair, no? Pero along the way while we were rendering it, medyo may pinapasukan siya ng iba't ibang kulay kasi naglalampas yung aking pen. So I'm going to use the white gel pen to cover some of the small imperfections or mga flaws, no, na nangyari kanina. So this works of course only if you have like small minor mistakes that you want to cover up. If it's a little bit bigger, then you can use gouache. Pero while you're rendering it, try to as much as possible not make minimize your mistakes, so you won't have to cover up a lot of things later on. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining me. I hope you learned something. Again, if you have any questions, please get in touch. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. I'm just here. I'm just waiting for people to ask me things so that I will be able to respond to any concerns. So tapos, if you have any suggestions or comments, you can put this down in the comment section, or you can send it to me via email or through our Discord channel. If you have any requests also, please just send it over. So maybe we can do a side-by-side comparison. If you so this one is the gray shadow, and then this one is the violet na shadow. So if you notice, there's hardly any difference. So maliit lang talaga yung pagkakaiba using a gray shadow or a violet shadow. So they both work very, very well. Ayun. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.